Hello. Right. So the next chapter is chapter two, or the next lesson is lesson two. Um, the main differences between the language dialects, the SQL language dialects. So there are main differences between the language dialects, and these are important to know to expedite learning of all of them at once as we begin to spot the differences one by one amongst the different versions or dialects of SQL. So we've got a summary here, which is essentially the SQL is used to talk to databases and other data processing technologies. SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL are all different databases, and they have their own slightly different SQL dialects. Transact SQL, which is TSQL, is the name of the variant of SQL used in Microsoft SQL Server database. The SQL, or rather the SQL standard, is an official ANSI stroke ISO document that defines the syntax of SQL. None of the databases is fully compatible with this standard, but they are close enough. So this is part of what causes the dialect amongst the different SQL variants. PLSQL is the procedural extension to SQL in the Oracle database. It is used to write your own functions and procedures in Oracle. PL stroke PGSQL is the procedural extension in SQL for PostgreSQL. It is used to write your own functions and procedures in PostgreSQL. So a little bit of background about the SQL standard, which was developed in the 1980s. At the time, each database vendor had its own version of SQL, and they varied widely and were incompatible with each other. So in the late 80s, they had to work on a standard which they got so that databases could understand themselves. So the American standard was called ANSI, which is American National Standards Institute, and in 1986 they got their one, and the International Organization for Standardization (ISO) got their version standardized in 1987. So this SQL standard has been revised multiple times since the 1880s. However, core standards have been stable since 1992. And although no database is fully compatible, most SQL scripts are have been ported to different databases um, so that there's compatibility and the database understand themselves. So SQL in big data, and you've also got NoSQL technologies now. So these days, SQL is not only used in databases; it's used widely in different kind of tech sectors um, for processing data. This is because as the amount of data grew, even NoSQL databases started gaining prominence or popularity. NoSQL means structured query language. Essentially, they use in a different system, such as MongoDB, Cassandra, Redis. Now we will have a separate course for that one for NoSQL, particularly MongoDB. And there'll be a link for you to enroll for that course as well. Um, Now today you even have not only SQL, in other words, not just NoSQL, but not only SQL. So some parts of it are SQL and the other parts are not. NoSQL essentially refers to document query language, or let me say document object models of the language. We'll go into that later on. So comparison between SQL and TSQL. SQL is non-procedural, while TSQL is procedural. SQL by default is open source, but TSQL is proprietary feature of Microsoft. Um, in SQL, the data is data. The function provider is about data manipulation and controlling the data, while with TSQL it's local variable and procedural programming language. Query in SQL is one-by-one submission. In TSQL, it is transferring bulk. The most popular TSQL statement is stored procedure, which is compiled and stored by TSQL code and executed by it. As mentioned, Debonair Training has a separate course for NoSQL, in particular MongoDB. So, concerning the difference, we're going to go a little bit in deep so that you can actually begin to perceive what we're talking about. PostgreSQL, MySQL, and SQLite use very similar syntax, with some notable differences highlighted below in this tabular form. Microsoft SQL Server, MS SQL, seems to have the greatest contrasts um, shown below. So here uh, you can see we got SQL Server, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQLite, right? So with the select statement, this is where they differ. I stated here, select column one. Uh, uh, Now, is it case sensitive or not case sensitive? It is case sensitive with SQL Server. So John is not the same. John here is not the same as John. Um, with MySQL, it is not case sensitive. So this is John is the same as John here. PostgreSQL is this case sensitive, and with SQLite, it is case sensitive. Okay, so this is the main difference here. It is not case sensitive uh, with MySQL. Using quotation marks. The name, single quotation marks here for SQL Server. With MySQL, you could use single or double, the same. Um, with PostgreSQL, single only. With SQLite, is just like MySQL, single, double. Aliases for columns and tables. With SQL Server, you actually assign the or rather you mention exactly what the and make it equals to that particular column. So we got select average column one, and you say so. This now becomes the alias for it. Whereas in MySQL you say select this column as use the as use the as keyword. You don't use the as keyword. You just make it equals to there. SQL Server. With PostgreSQL, you use the as well, and in SQLite. So with SQLite, PostgreSQL, MySQL, you use as keyword. With SQL Server, you don't use the as. You just say equals to. Okay. What could we dates? With SQL Server, you say select the column equals average. Sorry. Um, what could we dates? You say get date, date part. Okay, so that's how you get it. Get date part. Whereas in MySQL, you say call date, call time, and extract. That's a major difference between SQL Server and MySQL. In PostgreSQL, you say current date, current time, and extract. So it's the abbreviation really. That's the measurement between that and that. Whereas that is drastically different. With SQLite is date, now, and string function time abbreviated. So big difference here for working with dates across all four of them. Windows functions, for example, over and partition by, yes, in all four of them. So further giving some examples of the syntax differences between the available SQL functions. So we're going to use this example, which is select only the factory records of the customers table across these particular database platforms or database engines. So it's like we're saying select top three from customers, yeah. So that this is what we're really trying to do. And not all database systems support the select top clause. MySQL supports the limit clause to select a limited number of records, while Oracle uses fetch, first, and routes only, and row num. So, um, so this is how SQL Server and Microsoft Access processes it. This is their syntax. Select top number percent, pipe percent column name from table name where conditions. So, whereas in MySQL syntax, it is select column name from table name where condition and limit. You use the limit number. So in SQL Server, it says select top right at the beginning, whereas in MySQL syntax, it says limit number right at the bottom or right at the end. In Oracle 12 syntax, it says select column name from table order by column, and at the bottom you say first fetch number rows only. Okay, so that's the syntax. Whereas with older Oracle syntax, you say select column from table name where row num less than or equals to, place the number there. That's how it does in the older Oracles. Um, Concerning order by with the older Oracle databases, so select num, select asterisk from select column name. So select all from select the column from table name order by column name where row number is less than equal. So it's essentially a longer version of the latest version of Oracle when you want to use order by. Now with the Oracle 12, this is how you now do it instead of going through this long-winded process, right? So that's it for now. See you in the next lesson where we'll be going into TSQL Server, which is so. See you soon.